So if you're constipated to the point to where you feel like you need new cuss words, like the normal cuss words are not even good enough to describe how you feel about this situation, then in this video, I'm going to give you 5 underlying causes that could be creating your constipation. And a lot of these are things you probably have not heard before. So yeah, I'm not going to tell you to take fiber and probiotics. Let's see if we can get you some real answers. You don't want to miss this.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
If you're dealing with chronic constipation issues, I think the most important thing is just to understand that it's not a situation of, hey, these are just the cards that you were dealt and that's just how it goes. Like, constipation is not a part of your personality, and I'm sorry, but you're not constipated because your mom was constipated. Genetics can be a factor, but they don't have to be a sentence and they don't have to dictate your circumstances. You can change your circumstances. So what we want to do is look at these situations that might be creating constipation for you, because the reality is they can be different from person to person. That's why there is no remedy for constipation, because one thing that's going to help one person's underlying cause is not going to help the other person. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why that is. So in my experience, just from working with clients and from hearing from people who have read my books and such, the number one most common cause for chronic constipation is a lack of stomach acid. And this is called hypochlorhydria. And what happens is when we eat food, our stomachs make hydrochloric acid, or HCl. And this stomach acid is meant to help us acidify that food that we ate so that we can start that breakdown process. We need to break that food down so that we can access the nutrients that are in that food. So that stomach acid is a very important part of digestion. The problem is it's very common, for a wide variety of reasons, for someone not to be making enough stomach acid. So we need to understand why this is important to constipation. And what happens is the stool moves through this intestinal tract at a pace according to its acidity level. So if a stool is leaning too far on that acidic side, it will move through the system very quickly. And it might shoot through us out the back door, and the guy's like, man, I just shot a fire hose out the back door. And it lifted him off the toilet a little bit. But if the stool is leaning too far on the alkaline side, then it will move through the intestinal tract at a slower pace. And that slower pace can make it more dry and more hard and more difficult to move. And now I just sat on the toilet and read 8 magazines and got up with nothing but disappointment and regret. So the pH of that stool moving through this system is a really big factor when it comes to both chronic constipation issues and also chronic diarrhea problems. Now, there's other causes of chronic diarrhea, but whether the stool is leaning too acidic or too alkaline can be a problem in either direction. So once the food is acidified and it leaves the stomach, then the gallbladder squirts this alkaline bile down to neutralize those acids and help us really bust the food apart so we can get all the nutrients out of that food. And the pancreas also squirts some bicarb stuff that helps us neutralize too. So there are factors here that are made to help neutralize those acids. But if the food isn't really acidifying correctly, it'll start to break down by process of rotting and fermenting, which can create a lot of other digestive symptoms just on its own. But then when it comes down, if these other things are kind of helping, hey, I'm going to come neutralize something that didn't really get acidified correctly, then that stool can really lean too far on the alkaline side and move through the system at a very slow pace. And the second most common cause for chronic constipation is what we call an anabolic imbalance. And it was Dr. Emanuel Rivisi who helped us understand that the body has a natural circadian rhythm at the cellular level. So during the day, our cells should be in a more catabolic state where the body's really good at creating energy and breaking down tissue so that it can be rebuilt and just kind of keeping us going all day. And then at night, the body should move into a more anabolic state where the body's very good at sleeping and rebuilding and repairing. So you can see that both of these states are appropriate. We want both of those functions happening. The problem is, for a wide variety of reasons, some people can get stuck in one of these states most of the time. And if they're not really moving back and forth from day to night like they should, it can create a lot of health problems. So when someone's stuck in a catabolic state, they can kind of be breaking down tissues all the time. And the real problem is that in a catabolic state, the body sends more water to the bowels and less to the kidneys. And in this anabolic state, the body sends more water to the kidneys and less to the bowels. So if a person is stuck in this anabolic state most of the time, and the body is sending most of the water to the kidneys and less to the bowels, well, we're going to see some real constipation issues going on. So when we see this issue, we might also see that the person, oh, I got up 14 times to pee last night. I pretty much get my exercise from just walking back and forth to the bathroom. So if a person has to pee a lot in the middle of the night, it's often because the body's sending most of the water to the kidneys and not enough to the bowels, so that bowel is getting hard and dry and difficult to move. So another thing that could be creating that same problem is just a lack of hydration. You know, this water stuff, I don't know if you've heard about that, but we're supposed to drink that stuff. And when you drink enough water, then there's water to go to the bowels. So that's possibly a problem for some people, but in most scenarios, they're drinking enough water, the body's just sending it all to one place and not enough to the bowels, and we really get some problems when that happens. Now, if you're not drinking enough water, you need to drink more, but the question is, do you qualify? Do you qualify to drink more water? Because if you really have low minerals in the system, maybe you have low blood pressure. Like if you look at your blood pressure and that systolic number, which is that top number, if that's below 112, that can be a possible sign that just minerals and resources in the system are a little bit low. So the thing is, to make this hydrochloric acid so that we don't have this hypochlorhydria issue, in order for the body to make that hydrochloric acid, we need minerals and nutrients. So if someone can't make enough hydrochloric acid because mineral levels are too low in the system, and then they go, I'm going to drink 14 gallons of water so that I can poop like a champion. Well, an increase in water might help the bowels move that day, but if they're washing out the small amount of minerals that they have, they could be magnifying this problem if this is going on with them. Without those minerals, the body can't make that hydrochloric acid. So drinking enough water is a really big deal. You just don't want to go crazy about it. It's usually more about where is the body sending the water. And if you're dealing with this anabolic imbalance and the body's sending most of it to the kidneys, it's going to create a problem for your stool. And this is why magnesium is such a popular remedy for constipation. Magnesium is a very pro-catabolic mineral. So magnesium is pushing a person out of this anabolic imbalance, helping the body move into that catabolic state, so more water to go to the bowels, and then the bowels can move a little bit easier. So the magnesium isn't a magical remedy, it's helping correct an underlying cause for constipation. But a lot of people just think that that's what you're supposed to do for constipation. There's going to be comments down below this video where it's going to be like, oh, you just got to take magnesium. But magnesium is not going to correct the problem if the real problem is a lack of stomach acid. Now, if you take enough magnesium, it's going to bring enough water to the bowels and make things explode out the back door, but then the person's going to go right back to being constipated again. So you don't want to fix constipation by just forcing water to the bowels to push everything out if the actual underlying cause of the constipation for that person is different. What if it's one of these other things? Then the magnesium isn't really fixing, it's just forcing stuff out the back door. So magnesium can really help the underlying cause if this is the cause. Oh, light bulbs going off in my head. It's fun when things make sense. We should have things make sense. The third most common cause for chronic constipation is a bacterial overgrowth. And this can actually happen in the stomach, like an H. pylori bacteria overgrowth that we hear about all the time. But all the cool kids now have SIBO. That's what everybody's doing now. That's what the hip guys do, is they want to have SIBO. And SIBO is a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And usually when there's some type of overgrowth in the stomach, it's going to make its way in the small intestines too. And in a lot of cases, the waste product from that bacteria can be very alkaline. So if there's a lot of bacteria in the stomach and they're creating all this alkaline waste, that can neutralize those acids and restrict your ability to acidify that food even further. If there's a lot of waste in the small intestine that's creating alkaline scenario there, well, that's going to slow down that food moving through that area even more as well. So the more we slow things down, the more you slow your movements down. So we don't want bacterial overgrowth issues to be creating these slow down problems. So when someone's having any type of symptoms that can come from a lack of stomach acid, things like burping or bloating or acid reflux, or maybe eat food and it just feels like it sits there like a rock for 6 hours. All of those are really strong signs that you're not acidifying your stomach correctly. And the thing is that stomach acid is basically the barrier to this whole body system thing that we walk around in. We have bacteria and other varmints coming in on the food that we're eating, and that stomach acid is what fries them in an acid bath. It's our knight in disgusting armor. It kills the bad guys that come in. So when someone's not making enough stomach acid, it's really common for one of these overgrowth situations to come in and set up camp and raise their kids and have a keg party. And then they're really going to create a lot of alkaline waste that's going to magnify any of these problems and slow down the stool. So we want to eliminate any type of bacteria that's creating this alkaline environment and slowing down the stool and causing these chronic constipation issues. The fourth cause for constipation can just be stress. When we're stressed, the body moves into what's called our fight or flight, or our sympathetic side of our autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is just this system that kind of runs a lot of the body's operations behind the curtains. We don't have to think about them doing it. They just kind of happen for us. We don't have to think about breathing. We just kind of breathe. And the sympathetic state is our fight or flight state. That's the state that we go into when we're in an emergency, and the body will change how the body is operating to optimize its ability to deal with an emergency, to run away from a lion, to fight off a mugger. It's going to change the way the body operates so that you can survive. The problem is, in today's world, we get stressed because we're stuck in traffic. It doesn't have anything to do with running away from a lion. We're just late. But the body still changes the way it operates. And in this fight or flight sympathetic state, the body doesn't have the ability to make hydrochloric acid. In order to make hydrochloric acid, the body needs to be more into that parasympathetic rest and digest state. And this can have varying degrees, but if someone is severely stuck in this fight or flight state, it's really going to restrict their ability to make stomach acid. And then we get these problems of an overly alkaline stool. We get the problems of letting bacterial overgrowth in the front door. So this stress can be a really big deal and can cascade into problem after problem when it comes to constipation. Now, these are the most common issues, and it's most common you're going to see with somebody, oh, I've been constipated for 10 years. It's almost always going to be a combination of a lack of stomach acid and this anabolic imbalance. I see a lot of people that are kind of dealing with both of those issues. But there are other freaky things that can create constipation. Somebody could have like an intestinal blockage, maybe even just a partial blockage that's just really slowing things down. But in most cases, those blockages kind of developed over time due to this lack of movement, due to things just kind of getting compacted onto the intestinal walls and just not moving through the system like it should. We also see issues where maybe if this bile is not flowing correctly, it has the ability to create constipation, because this bile is a soapy substance that almost can act like a lubricant a little bit. But this is really important. Really hear what I'm saying, because a lot of people will tell you, oh, you need to take some ox bile if you're constipated because you need this lubricant thing. The problem is this ox bile is alkaline. Remember, this alkaline comes down here to neutralize those acids. So if your stool is constipated because it's leaning too alkaline, you're going to put ox bile in there and you're going to greatly magnify that issue. So it's very uncommon for me to see someone be able to take ox bile supplements and improve a constipation issue. It usually makes it worse. But there are scenarios where you might see that. And what's really common is for someone just to be using the wrong solution. The only advice out there for constipation is either probiotics and fiber. And the reality is that they just don't help most of these cases. They helped a guy named Hank once. Hank pooped better when he took fiber and probiotics, so we just talked about it all the time, and then everybody thinks that's what you're supposed to do. And the reality is that if you can correct these issues where the stool is more acidic and more water is going to the bowels, then putting some fiber in there can help push things through. It can help push out some of that junk that may have gotten compacted to the side of the intestinal walls. So fiber can be beneficial after you've created some improvement. But if you're just going to use fiber, that's like trying to push a ping pong ball through a metal pipe. It's not going to do anything. So it's usually just people listening to the wrong advice and getting frustrated and think that they're just stuck in a situation when really they're not addressing the actual underlying cause of the problem in any way. So this can be a factor when someone's just not doing the right stuff. So you may notice I didn't tell you how to fix it. And the reason is because I don't know. It's going to depend on what the problem is for you. Do you have a lack of stomach acid? Are you leaning too far on this anabolic side? Are you screaming and cussing at everybody? Did you yell at the mailman because you don't like the shorts he's wearing because you're so stressed out? Every scenario is going to be different. But my book, Constipation, Kick It Naturally, will walk you through those steps of figuring out, are there aspects of digestion that aren't working correctly? What do I got to do to fix those? Am I leaning too far on this anabolic side? There's simple tests that you can run at home to figure these things out. And the book is available on Amazon, but I'm going to put a link in the description below so you can get the whole thing totally for free. And that'll just walk you through that process of figuring out the cause of the constipation for you. That's really all you care about. You don't care about the most popular one, you just care what's going to help you poop like a champion. So what you should do right now is you can grab that book below, but if you want to, you can jump over and watch our video on 10 signs of low stomach acid to see if that might be a problem for you, and then you can check out steps you can take to improve that problem. I can't wait to hear about your results.